And it is often a time we can feel really ungrounded, or a lack of center, or a lack of connection to ourselves, being pulled in many different directions. So if you feel that way, this practice is really going to help. And the pelvic floor and the adductor work, the inner thigh work, and the way that we can synergize that into our deep core, and then add the layer of the breath into that, we can create a connection that is really solid, that feels unbreakable by anything from the outside. So important to cultivate that, no matter where we are in our life. So as you close your eyes and go into your own interior space, take an honest look at how grounded you feel, so you can compare that to after class. On a scale of 1 to 10, and grounded, I mean you feel really connected, you feel purposeful, you feel intentional in what you're doing. You're responding to life in a way that is really your authentic, beautiful, whole self. So if you have a high number, you feel very connected, very grounded. A low number, maybe the tank is a little low. In yoga, the pelvic floor is a huge symbol of mula bandha, of this grounding rod that's so energetic and so available to us at any time, and so important to living life in a way we want to, in a way that we're proud of how we are moving in the world. And the Mula Bandha is sort of the first bus stop. It's the first place. It's the place where the energy rises. And so if we don't have a connection there, then we're literally cut off. And we'll be doing a lot of swimming uphill, swimming upstream. So in that case, let's make our lives a little easier on ourselves by accepting and receiving this grounding energy that is always available to us, but we don't always access. And let's do practices that help us tap into this essence that's here. It's beyond the physical. So this practice is designed to do that. Let's bring our hands in front of our hearts and be grateful for our effort. Grateful for the little voice that got us here on our mat today. One Om together. Om. Okay, let's start on our backs, and I'll suggest not having a blanket under your head, and you'll need your blocks and a strap. We're going to start this more nuanced work, so we'll start slowly and then we're going to build on this. So you're going to take the block between the thighs here, and the block helps us to connect to the midline. It gives us something to press up against so we actually feel something. Bring your feet parallel, really align your feet under the knees or slightly forward of the knees, and take your hand and slide it under your low back for a moment and see if you can fit your whole hand under there or just your fingers. The idea is that you can just fit your fingers, not your whole hand. And that's about the right curve for your low back, what I would call neutral. And if your low back is in a neutral curve, that means your pelvis is neutral. Those two go together. Now bring your palms face down and begin with a neutral low back. Begin to start to squeeze the block without it changing the position of the low back. And as you do that, breathe deeply and feel the energy building from the feet through the inseams of the leg, which I like to call the rivers. The river of energy from the earth goes through the midline, the inseam of your legs, and feeds into the base of the pelvis, pelvic floor, inner thighs, groin. Keeping the spine in a neutral position, take another breath or two there, just kind of dialing it in. Feel the energy of the right thigh and the left thigh is even. Not one is pressing more than the other. And then I want you to slowly, with the energy of the core and the pelvic floor, not your back muscles, start to tip the pelvis slightly back and the spine comes more flat on the floor. It's just an inch, it's very subtle. This is so important for both men and women to connect with the pelvic floor, not just physically, but energetically. Okay, now arch the spine, but use the pelvic floor. The front of the pelvic floor is divided into two, and the line is the sit bones. And it goes sit bone to sit bone, right, base of the pelvis, to the pubic bone. That's the front triangle. And the back triangle is sit bone to sit bone and tailbone. Okay, just beyond the anus. That's the back triangle. Focus on the front triangle as much as you can. And that's because the back triangle is often overactive. That's all. It's not that we don't want to contract the back triangle. It's just that usually there's could be clenching or overaction there. Okay, so going back and forth very slowly. Initiate the pelvic tilts. Just an inch forward, an inch back. Using the inner thighs and the pelvic floor. Of course, the core is involved. It's getting involved because you're pulling energy up from your feet up to the pelvis, and you're just rocking back and forth, getting some rhythm, getting a connection going. Okay, now we're going to add the arms here. So inhale, I want you to arch the pelvis forward or arch the back slightly and raise the arms overhead. Get a nice openness in the chest, arching the low back, squeeze the block. And then exhale, feel the energy zip from your legs through the inseam to the pelvic floor, bring the arms down, and then the pelvis will tip back. So more of a flat back. Okay, inhale, arch the spine, pelvic floor active, arms overhead. Exhale, flatter back, arms down. So we're keep going at your own pace. Inhale, the arms go up and you arch the back. Exhale, the arms go down and you flatten the back. But remember, we're initiating this from a very grounded place in the lower body. And the energy is building so that you can raise the arms or move the arms back and forth. Two more like that. Last one here. Great. Now bring the block on the belly, feet together, butterfly pose. Place the hands on the inner thighs. So we're just placing the hands softly down, resting on the inner thighs, relaxing the jaw and the face. I feel the knees get heavy And then a deep inhalation, feel the belly, move the block. You can even feel possibly the back arching just because of the breath. And then exhale, you feel the back settle down. Take another 3 full breaths here. Noticing how the breath naturally moves the spine. Feel the pelvic floor relaxing. The inner thighs stretching. Okay, and then let's take the block back to the inner thighs. Keep the feet parallel again. Bring your arms in robot position, so elbows are bent to a 90, spread your fingers. Now exhale, do that pelvic tilt initiated by the inner thighs, pelvic floor, groin. Tip the pelvis back slightly, then start to lift the hips up to a half bridge. And pause there for 3 breaths, staying in your half bridge. Now activate the elbows, shoulders, feet, everything touching the floor. And then as you start to squeeze the block lightly, gather the energy building here and pull it up into the pelvic floor. Now your gravity is working for you here because you're able to pull the pelvic floor up as gravity is. You have the pelvis higher than the belly. Okay, exhale, lower down. Relax the arms for a minute, take a breath, just starting position here. We're going to do one more like that. So robot arms again. Pay attention to how you lift because you want to lift from the base. Exhale, zip it up, then lift. Feel both sides of the pelvic floor active, and that will translate to both thighs pressing into the block evenly. You don't have to lift high for this really to work. But if you want to challenge yourself and this feels really easy, you could try lifting just an inch, but lift from the pelvic floor. You feel the engagement there, lifting the pelvis, and then it synergizes with the buttock muscles, with the hamstrings, the hip muscles are all working in a balanced way. Nothing is overpowering the pose. Deep breath, and exhale, slowly lower. Okay, back to butterfly pose. Let's take the block on the belly. Rest the hands on the inner thighs. Close the eyes. And just receive energy and information as you relax. The energy is more free to move. You might feel a clearing somewhere in the joints. You might feel energy moving through the spine to the crown of the head. You might just feel more relaxed in your breathing. Let's soak it in. Another 2 breaths here. Feel spacious in the jaw, the cheekbones, the eye sockets, the temples. Okay, take the block, put it aside, and then grab your strap. And we're going to have that on the ball of the left foot. Stretch out the right leg, and of course that's optional. And we're going to go into a nice stretch here for the hamstrings. Roll the shoulders back. Just start slowly opening the back of the leg. So we use the back of the leg a lot in the last couple poses. So it'll take a little while to open. You can move the toes around. You can move the foot flex and point. Whatever feels good to make sure that you're getting that full stretch along the back of the left leg. Shoulders down. Okay, now let's bring the leg out to the side, and here's where we can get a lot of juice flowing, okay, juice energy flowing. We're stretching now the midline, and we did a lot of activation and connection to it in the last 2 poses. So that should really wake up this whole area from inner thighs to groin. I want you to really get into that spot. So find the leg position that works for a stretch into the groin, and even translate that into the left side pelvic floor. And if you can't feel that, you might play with bending the knee a little or moving the leg up. Okay, let's bring the leg back to center, and then we'll go across the midline a little bit here. Breathing in and softly breathing out. Relax into the stretch while engaging. The stretch is not only being felt in the place that you're stretching, it's also opening places that are connected fascially. Like when you stretch your outer hip, that translates also into the jaw and the temples, and you might feel releases there when you're opening your hip. Okay, let's bring the leg back up, and so we want to pay really close attention to not just the area we're stretching. Let's go to the other side, but also just constantly having a conversation with the body, scanning the body for little windows. We kind of peek into the window and see what's happening. You might hear your stomach gurgle. You might feel your chest soften. Stay attuned to your breathing and use your breathing like fuel to fuel your awareness of your body. Now let's bring the leg out to the side, and especially here with this sequence in this class, really open up through the inner thigh groin here. Figure out a way to get to the connection point of your leg and your pelvis where it synergizes with the pelvic floor on the right side. Deep breath in, slow breath out. Let's bring the leg up and over. Wherever you feel that first stretch, pause there and scan the whole body. Not just the back of your calf or the hamstring or the outer hip, but maybe into the shoulder, with the base. Okay, let's come back up, and then we'll take the strap, put it aside for a minute, get the knees a nice hug, soft knee hug. Now breathe energy into your back. You can improve circulation and healing into areas that are stiff, areas that feel disconnected, simply by breathing there.
Okay, and then lower down slowly. And then take your right leg up. You're going to hold behind your right thigh, flex your foot, and start pushing your thigh into your hands, your interlaced hands. So we're not going to use the strap unless you need to as a modification. So for this, we're trying to break the clasp of our hands. So we're kind of strengthening into the arms here, pressing the thigh away from us, and really burying the femur bone into the hamstrings and pressing through the back of the leg. Now, you can bend the knee towards your chest, and you're going to slide the hands up to the back of the knee and pull the knee towards the chest with the knee bent. And now slide the hands back to the middle of the thigh and press the leg away and straighten it again. Back to that position that we started in. And then slide the knee, but slide it over now in half happy baby. And you can hold the ankle or the foot. So the knee has to go out to the side in order to have a little more space. Left hip can lift off the floor. If that happens, that's fine. Anchoring the right hip down. Great, and then bring that right foot across to the left knee, figure 4, and before you pick up your left foot off the floor, take your right hand on the right thigh and press it away. And now breathe into the whole right lower belly here. Feeling lots of space come into the front of the hip joint in the belly. And then take that leg back into happy baby. So we didn't do a full Sukhi Randrasana, we just used it as a hip opener to make a little more space down deep into the groin for half happy baby, still on the right side. And then use your good breathing to get way down into it, as if you were breathing all the way to the pelvis. And bring the foot back onto the knee and same leg, press the right thigh away again. And you don't want the hips shifting too much. You don't want the hips tilting. So you have to kind of anchor your hips in neutral, pressing the right thigh away. Now pick up the left foot, and hopefully you have a little more space there to hug the left knee in. Definitely you should have more external rotation from what we just did. Allow the breath to slow down and your thoughts to slow down. Okay, bring your left foot to the floor, uncross your leg. Now bring the left leg up. So we're changing sides. Interlace your hands behind the back of the left thigh. Press the left thigh away from you, and that should start strengthening your leg. You should feel the quads engage. You should feel the calf muscles engage. Hamstrings working. Hold it there, 5. Press it away, 4. Lumbar in a neutral curve, 3. Breathing, 2 and 1. And then bring that knee just straight in. Try to bend the knee to about a 90-degree angle or a little bit more. And just hugging that knee in towards the chest. Sliding the hands up to the back of the knee. You might feel a release in the low back. Okay, now press the leg away. Slide the hands down the back of the thigh, wherever they land that works for you, and press left thigh away from you again. Flex the foot. Keep pressing. And now slide that knee out to the side, half happy baby on the left side. Still on the left leg. Sometimes, you can put your hand on your belly and make sure that you're feeling It's not gripping. There might be a little engagement, but you're not overly tensing the belly because that will translate into the hips. Now cross the leg over the right knee and just press left hand into left thigh. Make a little space. If you feel any pain or pinching, then press a little less. If you feel any impingement in your lower back at all, then draw the navel down a little. Okay, let's take that leg back into happy baby. Check it out. See if you made some good space there for a little deeper happy baby. Breathe into left groin, left side pelvic floor. Check in with your jaw. Okay, cross that leg over and Sukhi Randrasana, pulling the right knee towards the chest. Roll the shoulders back and deepen the breath. Long, slow exhalation. And then take the leg and release it. Okay, let's do some spinal rolls. Last one on the back. Exhale, roll the spine back, lift to bridge, and roll the spine back down. Exhale, engage and lift. Inhale, roll it back down. Do a few more. Getting some movement, some juice in the spine, coming from the feet, from the pelvic floor, all the way to the crown. Last one. Very good. Okay, roll to, actually, let's do one more. I'm just thinking. Double knee twist to the right. Okay, I'm sensing. Let's do a little twist here. So your spine can adjust if needed. Inhale up, exhale, shift your hips over and twist to the left. One more breath. Coming up. Okay, let's go into cat cow. One more like that. Loosening up the spine here. And we want to keep all the curves moving. And that way the energy is free to flow. Great. Good, now let's thread the needle left arm through. Modify this by bringing your shoulder down to a pillow or blanket. Give yourself into a little twist here. Breathe across the back rib cage, the lower back. Inhale, coming up. Little engagement happening here in the core as you exhale, twist to the other side. Breathe in and slow breath out. Inhale, coming up.
Okay, puppy pose. So we're gonna get squeeze some more length out of your spine, everybody. Let's walk the hands forward. You can do very small little lifts of the belly. And actually, I'll talk about that more in a minute. Okay, let's go ahead and come up. Now take the block, and I want you to place it either the skinniest setting or the second width between the knees. It's going to be on the floor. So it's not between the thighs, it's on the floor between the knees. And then tuck your toes if you can, stacking your hips right over your knees. Come down onto your elbows. If you want, you could grab a second block here. This could be really helpful to lower your head to the block, like this. Okay, so start to find neutral in your low back, meaning you don't want an over dip and you don't want a tucking and a rounding. Find neutral lower back. And then once you have that, start to squeeze your knees lightly into the block, but don't round the low back. And as you squeeze lightly into the block, you'll feel energy building into the inner thighs, inner groin. Feed that into the pelvic floor, especially the front part of the pelvic floor. Keep lengthening the tailbone while you're doing that. And feel that tone coming up into the pelvis. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now take the block out and widen your knees. Big toes touch for child's pose. So here we're going to be stretching now into that area. You want to allow the pelvic floor to kind of widen here and the groin to deepen. Sink down into it. I was at the PT clinic working the other day. Some of you may not know, but I am working at a PT clinic on Tuesday, Thursday afternoons. And it's amazing the things that I see there. It's been so wonderful. And one of the things I saw was the PT, and I was helping them work with this man who was about 80 years old. And he was on his back, and they were teaching him really how to do pelvic tilts and find his pelvic floor and his core. They didn't talk about it at all like I'm talking about it in class with you. But it was great to see him working with this. And is really the first time that he ever did in his life. So beautiful you are all finding this kind of work when you are. Let's go ahead and come on up. Some people never find this work, right? And then we'll come to our backs. Let's bring our legs up the wall. Okay, slowly roll to your side and come up to seated. And we'll bring our hands in front of our hearts, just feeling whatever is arising, checking in with your grounding rod, energy to the earth, one arm together. Om. Thank you.